From confessing suicidal thoughts on Good Morning America,
and I had no idea I was being taped. I was to the point where I wanted to kill myself.
to bizarre claims of receiving messages from the late Roddy Piper, Hulk Hogan's final interviews were anything but normal. In one of them, he made a haunting remark that has fans wondering, did Hogan sense his end was near? Let's break them down. The Good Morning America racial slur scandal. In August 2015, Hulk Hogan's world came crashing down when audio from a 2006 to 2007 sex tape surfaced, revealing him using racial slurs while discussing his daughter's relationship. The fallout was immediate and devastating. WWE fired him and erased his legacy from their programming. But it was Hogan's emotional appearance on Good Morning America with Amy Robach that truly revealed the disturbing depths of his personal crisis.
Out of everything that I've been through, this one hit me probably the hardest, and that's a heck of a thing to say, because I've been through a lot of crazy stuff.
What made this interview particularly disturbing wasn't just Hogan's attempt to justify his language, but his revelation of suicidal thoughts during his lowest point.
I was to the point where I wanted to kill myself. I sat in my bathroom by myself when my ex-wife was gone and the kids were gone, and I was completely broken and destroyed. And
Hogan attempted to contextualize his racist remarks by claiming they were a product of his environment, stating he grew up in a rough Tampa neighborhood where such language was commonplace. However, this claim was disputed by childhood friend Linda Bryant, who said that was not the culture when Terry grew up here, casting doubt on his environmental defense. The most disturbing moment came when Hogan broke down while discussing his daughter Brooke's support.
she should have been the one to throw me out like the trash, but instead she showed me more love than anybody.
What did Brooke say to you?
Well, could we stop for a second?
The interview highlighted the professional consequences of the scandal, which were compounded by the ongoing Gawker lawsuit.
Everything I'd done, my whole career, my whole life, was like it never happened.
Your image, your likeness, your name erased.
Yeah, like I'd never existed.
This interview marked the beginning of Hogan's pattern of disturbing public appearances, where his desperate need for redemption often overshadowed rational discourse, setting the stage for even more troubling interviews in the years that followed. The Howard Stern sex tape admission. 3 years before his racial scandal would destroy his WWE career, Hogan appeared on The Howard Stern Show to address another deeply personal violation, the leak of his sex tape with Heather Clem, wife of radio personality Bubba the Love Sponge. This October 9th, 2012 interview was particularly disturbing because it revealed the manipulative circumstances surrounding the tape's creation.
Doing that, my wife, had just made a decision that she'd gone back to California. I was at home with the racing team that we had at the time, the drifting team, right? And it was just one of those things that after a phone call, which was this, that, and the other, done, over with, F this, F that, F you, click.
What made this interview particularly unsettling was Hogan's description of how Bubba allegedly encouraged the encounter.
For 2 years, Heather and Bubba were saying how cool this was. Right. No problem, no problem. Bubba was saying it's cool. Honestly, Heather was relentless. I want to see your thing. I want to F you.
The interview's disturbing quality stemmed from its explicit discussion of a non-consensual recording, Hogan's emotional vulnerability, and the casual treatment of a serious privacy violation. During the 2016 Gawker trial, clips from this interview were played to challenge Hogan's claim of privacy violation, as he appeared to discuss the tape willingly.
Went by Bubba's to say, hey, bro, I'm going to hang out, and it just was one of those moments I said, hell with it. It was a huge, horrible decision.
Hogan countered that he was in character as Hulk Hogan, not Terry Bollea, and that discussing it on Stern's show was part of the entertainment persona, not an invitation to publicize the tape. The disturbing nature of this interview lay in its raw portrayal of betrayal, manipulation, and the blurred lines between Hogan's public and private personas. The Hot Properties Richard Belzer incident. Perhaps the most physically disturbing interview in Hogan's career occurred on March 27, 1985, during an appearance on Lifetime Network's Hot Properties with comedian Richard Belzer. This incident is widely regarded as one of Hogan's most dangerous media appearances because it resulted in actual physical harm. The appearance was meant to promote WrestleMania 1, with Hogan appearing alongside Mr. T. The atmosphere was tense from the start, as Belzer's irreverent style clashed with the wrestler's commitment to kayfabe. What made this particularly disturbing was how quickly things escalated from entertainment to genuine danger.
Why don't you guys one of you guys, I want you to show me some
No, we ain't showing you
some
nothing.
moves.
You didn't come here. You didn't come here to show no moves, man.
What?
You know, we didn't come
I'm
to show no
talking to
moves,
him,
you know.
man, okay?
You want to see some moves? You buy your closed circuit tickets.
Despite Hogan's warnings about the hard studio floor and potential for injury, Belzer persisted in asking for a wrestling demonstration.
Well, I'm gonna have to stick to the basics with you. The floor is a little hard here, and I don't want you getting hurt.
The disturbing moment came when Hogan applied what he called a front chin lock to Belzer.
You just tell me, brother, when you want him to quit squealing, okay?
All right.
It's called a front chin lock. How about it, T?
Keep him like that for a little while. Because he's all right. He's just sleeping.
Within seconds, Belzer lost consciousness, and when Hogan released the hold, Belzer collapsed to the floor, striking his head with an audible crack. Blood was visible on the floor and on Belzer's jacket, and he required 9 stitches for a laceration on the back of his head. Belzer later told ESPN's Roy Firestone in 1990, "He came very close to killing me. I was told by a sports medicine expert that if I had fallen a few inches either way, I could have been crippled for life. I could have been dead." The incident resulted in a $5 million lawsuit that was settled out of court in 1990 for an estimated $400,000. The 700 Club supernatural claims. One of Hogan's most bizarrely disturbing interviews occurred on April 30th, 2024, when he appeared on Christian Broadcasting Network's The 700 Club. While the interview was framed as a powerful testimony of Hogan's relationship with Jesus Christ, it contained claims that left viewers questioning his mental state. Most shocking moment came when Hogan claimed to have received a posthumous message from his deceased rival, Roddy Piper, who had died in 2015.
It wasn't a text message, but it was a text message that was a voice message on the text, so he must have. But this text message came in 2 days after he died, and the text message goes, "I'm just loving you, my brother. I'm just walking with Jesus and loving you, my brother." I was like...
This claim was met with skepticism and unease, with critics labeling it as potentially delusional or fabricated. Wrestling fans online expressed disbelief, with some speculating it could be a symptom of cognitive decline. Even more disturbing was Hogan's description of himself in spiritual terms.
So what Terry brings to the table is a meat suit. A meat suit filled with the Spirit of Christ, and it's a testing ground for me.
This vivid imagery, combined with his history of embellishment, led some to view the statement as performative or exaggerated. Hogan's emotional recounting of his relationships with wrestling legends also added unsettling elements to the interview.
A lot of people don't realize his fingers were like bananas, he was huge.
What do you miss most about him?
His honesty. I miss Andre's honesty because he didn't pull any punches with people, and he had a very, very rough life.
The interview sparked significant online discussion, particularly on Reddit, with many comments being critical or mocking. Users questioned Hogan's sincerity and mental state, with comments like, "The brain rot is real, brother," and speculation about CTE. This interview fit Hogan's long-standing tendency to exaggerate or invent stories, raising questions about his credibility or mental state. TMZ Kamala Harris body slam comments. On August 19, 2024, at the Thirsty Cowboy Bar in Medina, Ohio, Hogan delivered one of his most politically inflammatory and disturbing interviews while promoting his Real American beer. The TMZ video captured Hogan making provocative and racially insensitive remarks about then Vice President Kamala Harris.
"You want me to body slam somebody? You want me to body slam Kamala Harris? I said, do you want me to body slam Kamala Harris? You want me to drop the leg on Kamala? Is Kamala a chameleon? Is she Indian? Okay, I like it. How? I'm gonna get heat for that one, brother."
These remarks, which included threats of violence and mockery of Harris's racial identity, sparked widespread backlash. The timing made it particularly disturbing, as the event occurred during a period of heightened political tension, with calls to curb violent political rhetoric following an assassination attempt on Donald Trump in July 2024. What made this interview especially troubling was Hogan's attempt to deflect responsibility.
That was not me, that was the beers talking.
This attribution of his remarks to alcohol consumption did little to mitigate the criticism. The remarks drew immediate condemnation across media outlets, with major publications framing it as both a continuation of Hogan's controversial history and an example of escalating political divisiveness. Social media users labeled Hogan a noted racist and criticized his attempt to deflect blame onto alcohol. The incident reportedly cost Hogan a potential biopic project featuring Chris Hemsworth, which was canceled the same day as the event. This interview was part of a broader pattern of controversial statements, including including his 2015 dismissal from WWE over racist language and his October 2024 rally comments. The disturbing nature of this interview lay not just in its content, but in how it demonstrated Hogan's continued inability to separate his wrestling persona from real-world political discourse. The Undertaker injury lies. One of Hogan's most persistent and disturbing fabrications involved his claims about being injured by The Undertaker during their match at Survivor Series 1991. This incident has been widely disputed and labeled as one of Hogan's many exaggerated or fabricated stories. Hogan claimed that The Undertaker's tombstone piledriver caused significant damage to his neck, alleging that the move jammed his neck due to being held too tightly, resulting in long-term numbness in his arms. In his 2006 reality show, Hogan Knows Best, Hogan described the incident dramatically, stating that The Undertaker's piledriver screwed up my neck something fierce. The Undertaker has consistently refuted Hogan's claims, explaining in a 2020 ESPN interview how Hogan repeatedly expressed concern about his neck before the match. The Undertaker assured Hogan he would protect him, stating he would have him so tight that there's no way possible that you're going to hurt your neck. Upon reviewing the match footage, The Undertaker confirmed that Hogan's head never touched the chair or mat as his knees absorbed the impact. When confronted with this evidence, Hogan responded, "Brother, what it was is you had me so tight that when we came down, I had nowhere to move, and that's what jammed my neck." The Undertaker realized at that moment that Hogan was likely exaggerating or fabricating the injury, which changed their professional relationship. He noted, "I was like, okay, I kind of realized I know what you're all about, and that's all I needed." Multiple wrestling personalities have supported The Undertaker's account, with Jim Cornette describing Hogan's claim as an old trick used by veterans to guilt-trip newer stars. Former WWE commentator Jim Ross called Hogan's story a fictionalized account. This disturbing pattern of fabrication would continue throughout Hogan's career, undermining his credibility and relationships within the wrestling industry. The bizarre Andre the Giant rematch promo. In early 1988, Hogan delivered one of his most unhinged and disturbing promos in preparation for his rematch with Andre the Giant at the Main Event 1 on February 5, 1988. This promo stands out for its surreal imagery and high-energy delivery that bordered on the manic. The promo was part of the build-up to their rematch following their iconic WrestleMania 3 encounter, which drew a record 15.2 Nielsen rating and 33 million viewers. However, this particular promo took Hogan's usual theatrics to disturbing new heights with its bizarre and disconnected imagery. Hogan referenced pinning Andre at the bottom of the ocean, an absurd and vivid image that evoked a mythological struggle rather than a wrestling match. Even more bizarre, he mentioned Donald Trump hanging from the Trump Plaza and dog paddling to safety, adding a layer of randomness that baffled viewers and interviewer Gene Okerlund alike. Hogan's delivery was frenetic, with wide-eyed intensity and a near-manic tone, with his physicality, gesticulating wildly and leaning into the camera, amplifying the disturbing effect. Okerlund's struggle to maintain a straight face underscored the promo's absurdity, with his closing remark, "Oh my goodness," encapsulating the surreal experience. The real-life health struggles of Andre the Giant, who was dealing with severe back issues and acromegaly, added a layer of unease to the promo. Hogan later revealed he scripted the WrestleMania 3 match to accommodate Andre's limitations, suggesting the 1988 rematch was similarly constrained, which may have heightened Hogan's on-screen. The disturbing quality of this promo lay not just in its content, but in how it revealed a performer whose grip on conventional storytelling seemed to be slipping into something far more chaotic and uncontrolled. Andre the Giant contract signing intensity. The contract signing for Hogan's WrestleMania 3 match against Andre the Giant, aired on February 27, 1987, stands as one of wrestling's most emotionally intense and psychologically disturbing segments. Unlike modern WWE contract signings, which often devolve into brawls or predictable chaos, the atmosphere was charged with suspense as the two larger-than-life figures faced off, with Hogan portrayed as both intimidated and defiant, while Andre, now a heel aligned with Bobby the Brain Heenan, exuded menace and confidence. Sources describe Hogan as shaking with anger or trembling with fear, reflecting the high stakes of facing the supposedly undefeated Andre. What made this particularly disturbing was the blurred line between performance and genuine emotion. WWE Hall of Famer Tony Atlas has suggested there was real-life tension, alleging that Hogan was genuinely afraid of Andre during this period. Atlas claimed Hogan was afraid to look Andre in the face and was nervous during their interactions, possibly due due to Andre's physical dominance and the segment's disturbing quality stemmed from its emotional intensity rather than graphic content, with the betrayal narrative, combined with Hogan's visible distress and the physicality of their prior confrontation, creating a visceral sense of conflict. The signing was described as adding overwhelming suspense and making the match feel like the biggest in the history of professional wrestling, establishing a benchmark for emotional storytelling that subsequent contract signings would struggle to match. PDB interview Rock claims, 2024. In a 2024 interview with Patrick Bet David, Hogan made one of his most questionable claims about his post-TNA career, alleging that Triple H had contacted him to arrange a match with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. This claim has sparked significant discussion due to its questionable veracity and Hogan's history of fabricating stories. Hogan stated that post-TNA, which ended in 2013, Triple H reached out to propose a rematch with The Rock, presumably for a WWE event. However, there are significant timeline issues with this claim. By 2013, The Rock was a major Hollywood star with limited WWE appearances, and there is no documented evidence of WWE planning a Hogan vs. Rock match post-2013. The wrestling community's reaction was overwhelmingly skeptical, with many on Reddit's r² circle labeling the claim as a lie or a sign of cognitive decline. Comments like, "I can't tell if he's lying or it's just dementia," reflected the disturbing nature of fans questioning whether Hogan's claims stemmed from deliberate fabrication or mental deterioration. This claim fits Hogan's long-standing pattern of exaggeration and fabrication, from claiming Elvis Presley was a fan to asserting he was offered the bassist role in Metallica. These stories often contradict verifiable facts, as in the Elvis claim, where Hogan said the King attended his matches despite Elvis dying just 6 days after Hogan's professional wrestling debut. What made this particular interview disturbing was the community's growing concern about Hogan's mental state. Wrestling fans and commentators began debating whether Hogan's claims stemmed from memory issues, possibly linked to age or CTE, chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or were intentional lies. The fact that observers couldn't distinguish between cognitive decline and deliberate deception highlighted the troubling nature of Hogan's final interviews. The PDB interview claim lacked corroboration from WWE, Triple H, or The Rock, and given Hogan's history, appeared to be another embellishment to inflate his relevance in wrestling's modern era. The disturbing aspect wasn't just the lie itself, but what it revealed about a legend whose grip on reality seemed increasingly tenuous. Republican National Convention speech, July 2024. While technically a speech rather than a traditional interview, Hogan's appearance at the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee on July 18, 2024, was followed by media coverage that revealed disturbing elements about his state of mind and political alignment. The speech itself was a high-profile endorsement of Donald Trump's presidential campaign.
But what I found out was I was in a room full of real Americans, brother. And at the end of the day, with our leader up there, my hero, that gladiator, we're gonna bring America back together. One real American at a time, brother.
The speech employed Hogan's wrestling theatrics, including ripping off his shirt to reveal a Trump Vance 2024 t-shirt and energizing the crowd with his signature charisma. However, what made this appearance disturbing wasn't the political content itself, but Hogan's emotional intensity and the personal context surrounding it.
And as an entertainer, I tried to stay out of politics. But after everything that's happened to our country over the past 4 years, and everything that happened last weekend, I can no longer stay silent.
The speech referenced Trump's survival of an assassination attempt, with Hogan stating he could no longer stay silent after the attempt on his hero's life. This personal attachment and emotional investment in political figures suggested a troubling blurring of Hogan's wrestling persona with real-world politics. President Donald Trump and others, including Donald Trump Jr. and Vice President J.D. Vance, referenced Hogan's speech in tributes after his death, noting its electric impact. However, the speech also marked a concerning escalation in Hogan's political rhetoric that would culminate in his disturbing Kamala Harris comments just weeks later. What made this appearance particularly troubling was how it demonstrated Hogan's inability to separate his entertainment persona from serious political discourse, setting the stage for even more inflammatory statements. Impulsive Podcast Health Revelations, September 2024. Perhaps the most sobering and disturbing of Hogan's final interviews was his September 2024 appearance on Logan Paul's Impulsive Podcast. This interview provided a candid look at Hogan's physical condition and mindset less than a year before his death, revealing the devastating toll his wrestling career had taken on his body.
No, I've had like 25 surgeries in the last 10 years.
That's it.
Yeah, 10 back surgeries. Nobody told me that gimmick stuff was fake, man. No, but before, 10 back surgeries, both knees, both hips replaced, shoulders, everything.
Hogan discussed his extensive health challenges in disturbing detail, explaining how the physical demands of wrestling had destroyed his body.
But at the end of the day, the equipment back in the day when I started wrestling in '77 was a little different than the rings and stuff you guys are working in now.
Yeah, totally. I heard it was much harder.
Oh, God.
What made this interview particularly disturbing was Hogan's matter-of-fact acceptance of his physical deterioration.
Jumping up and dropping the damn leg for 40 years. When I had the largest arms in the world, I should have been using a sleeper, no bumps, but... Yeah, it's all cool, man. No regrets.
The interview highlighted how Hogan's signature leg drop move had damaged his hips and knees, contributing to his need for multiple joint replacements. Despite the obvious pain and disability, Hogan maintained his characteristic bravado, insisting he had no regrets.
Do you do any of that new age stem cells?
I've tried it all.
Any of it work for you?
Doesn't work?
Not for me.
This openness about surgeries and health struggles contrasted with the optimistic tone he maintained, reflecting his resilience, but also suggesting a man in denial about his mortality. The interview took on an even more disturbing quality in retrospect, as viewers could see a man whose body was failing him, while his mind refused to accept the reality of his condition. The podcast underscored Hogan's continued relevance in pop culture as he engaged with a younger audience through a modern platform, but it also revealed the price of fame and the physical destruction that came with decades of entertainment. If you liked this video, tap one of the cards on your screen to watch more.